We're going to check out the drum melodic RTC type. In this session that I have open right now, it's just a continuation from last time, but there's a few things that I want to point out. I started labeling my modules. The first module, if you remember, was our bass, and actually let me just start playing it. Our second one was kind of a synth sound. And then we're going to have a timpani on the third one. So you choose a name in this drop-down menu. Unfortunately, there's no way to add your own labels. It's kind of strange that you can't do that, but at least they give you the option. This will not transfer to the Kronos. If you try to dump into the Kronos, it will simply just always say modules A, B, C, and D instead of like bass, synth, like I have here. So anyway, let's start looking at this drum melodic one. I have this set to the first, or one of the first drum melodic ones that I could find in bank 1 or 2, I mean, depending on how you look at it, since it's starting at 0. I chose to, of course, filter by type, chose drum melodic, and found this orc timpani one. And since I had timpani in the title, I simply chose a timpani sound in the Kronos. The one that I chose is located at UBB057. And then I dropped that down an octave right here in the GE setup tab of the performance editor. So let's start checking it out. Since this is a drum melodic GE, the GE type is generated drum. Now I haven't really gone into what a GE type is, and we're not going to worry about it yet. It's not until we start, again, going into this GE editor in depth that we'll start learning about the different GE types. But know that the GE type generated drum is using these sequencers. And so I have the drum tab open, of course, and then there are 3 sequencers here with notes. So you can see these green dots are just like notes. And you can see this little thing running along here. And that is choosing it's deciding, when the notes play. Whenever this green cursor goes by some of these green nodes or entry points in the pattern grid, then it plays a note. So we have this pattern variation. And if we look at some of the previous models, like CL1, in the slider 2 it had rhythm pattern, and then in the first one we had rhythm complexity for BL1. Or for DM1, drum melodic, our pattern variation, instead of changing like the rhythm or like the ties, it's changing the index. So let me slide this slider so you can see. So it's changing the index template. And if you remember, our index tells us when in the series, it tells us which note to play in the series based off of the rhythm events. So that's pretty complicated, but let me try to break it down. So of course we have rhythm events. We just have straight events through time. Of course, we're in a 4/4 signature at about 120 BPM coming from Cubase, which is running. And so we just have these straight 16th notes playing. So every time a 16th note plays, it runs through another step in the index. And then the index is telling the series how far to jump forwards or backwards. So if it's just 1, then it jumps 1 forward and it plays that note, 1 forward and it plays that note, of course, depending on how the notes are being organized in the note series. But in this case, for a drum melodic, instead of functioning off of a note series, it's functioning off of these drum sequencers. The drum sequencers you could just set up just like regular sequencers, where, I'll stop running that. There's no reason for that. The drum sequencers are just like regular sequencers, and they're like the note series in that you can see the cursor jumping forwards and backwards based off of the index. So that's probably the trickiest part of the drum melodic RTC model that you'll need to know. Let's start playing with more of the parameters. So we have randomize improvise, and I believe that's changing the curve. And let me start running the module. Yep. So it's changing basically whenever there are little nodes stacked on top of each other, the curve decides which one to play. So right now it could jump through the index, or in this case the drum sequencer. It could jump 3 steps, 4 steps, 5 steps, but whichever one it decides to jump, the probability of it is based off of this curve. So if I have this curve, oops, don't want to change that. I'll just put that back where it was, around 60. So if I have the curve all the way down, I believe that means it's always choosing the bottom node, and you can see it's flickering on 3, it's flickering on 2, it's flickering on 2 again for this one, and that's every time it runs by it. But if we have it up, all the way up, it's flickering on 5 for the first step, it's flickering on 0 for this step, so on and so forth. And if it's 50-50, I believe it's just completely randomized. There we go. Let's see what that... -2, 1, okay. So that's actually as randomized or improvised as it possibly could be. I'll just leave it like that. I like the way that sounds. Repeat on off by pattern. Let's see what this thing does. Let's go to the repeat. Oh, it's by pattern. Okay, so this is going to be really difficult to explain, but let's attempt it. So repeat on off by pattern is talking about these drum patterns. And if I slide this over, it's actually changing basically the repeats per phase. So you can see how when I slide this, it makes the MR be highlighted or not highlighted. And that's basically deciding if it's just repeating notes in the sequence or not. That's something that I think I'll have to explain when we get into the GE editor. But for now, just know that it's repeating. You can see how this is drum 1, and it's MR module repeat. Yeah. So we can actually choose like this one right here, number 4, is actually choosing like drum 1 and drum 2. This one's choosing drum 3, drum 1 and drum 3, and this one's choosing all of them. This one's choosing none of them. Interesting. And this one's also choosing none of them. That's interesting. Wow. So bottom and top, same. Let's choose 1. Let's actually look at the drum pattern. Wow. Really flying around because of how we have the randomized improvise. And let's turn up the repetitions and see what that does. Oh, that's pretty bad. Let's go over to the repeat, see what that's controlling. And let's turn repeat transpose down 0. So now it's creating like drum rolls. Let's go down to like 2, 1 even. 2. Let's hear what this sounds like with our other instruments. like it. Oh, we're not even running the other two patterns. So if I were to turn this on, let's see, what is it changing? Might be in the phase. Let's check the phase. What are you changing, pattern? Pattern 2 off and on. Doesn't seem to be working. Let's see. Pattern 3 off and on. Ooh. Yeah, that definitely turned pattern 3 on. Now, none of them play, of course. Let's see if 2 is playing. It is. So it's actually so randomized that it's skipping these two. There, that one hit. If we put both of these on. Wow. It's really cool. Let's see if bend even does anything. It does. Wow. Of course, bend will only affect the timbre if the timbre is programmed to accept a MIDI bend. Like for instance, if you had like Poly 6 on, but you didn't actually allow it to pitch bend, then the bend wouldn't really do anything. I would go into a specific example, but I just feel like it would take too long to set up right at this moment. So let's continue. Let's solo this G. Let's change the bend direction and turn the bend on. Let's put it up. Change the bend length. Interesting. Take it off. And then we can change the rhythm value of decay, which is just like last time, which should be in our repeat. Repeat volume decay. Yep. I think I like the way this sounds the way it is. I think the improvise could be changed a little bit. So that was in index. Yeah, I like that. It's really cool. Nice. So that's about as much as I could explain with the Drum Melodic RTC controls. The next time, let's see what we're going to go over. We're going to go over... I think it's another drum one. Yep, drum and percussion. As we'll highlight it now. Cool. So see you in that video.